Hello, this is Steve Kubby, and I'd like to welcome you to Kubby TV. And today we're going to talk about the fiasco, the horror stories that are coming out of Colorado and Washington. Now, Colorado, they just passed a 25% tax on cannabis, and apparently this tax, if I understand it correctly, can be applied at several levels. So it's going to really push the cost of legal pot pretty high, and that's going to continue to support the underground industry, and it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But in the meantime, you have legislators in Colorado who are still trying to eviscerate the new law, who are still trying to find ways to apply it to prevent the distribution and sales of cannabis instead of fulfilling the will of the voters. Now, in Colorado, though, it is a constitutional change that has taken place in their state constitution, and that's pretty major. So if any place has a good situation going, it's still Colorado. Although I personally think we're better off here in California. Colorado, it's against the law to smoke weed publicly. California, it's only against the law if you're causing a public commotion or if you're obviously inebriated. But just the act of toking up at a rock concert is illegal in every state I know of except for California and Oregon. Now, let's talk about Washington, which has really turned into a bummer. And you've got to have sympathy for the people that worked so hard for I-502, as well as the people who spoke out against it and warned against the problems that would come with the passage of I-502. Now, we've seen the Liquor Control Board making recommendations of ending patient private gardens. That's right, they want to put an end to the right to patients to grow their own medicine, something that I and other patients feel is very, very important. There's a connection with that plant that goes beyond just going to a pharmacy and buying your medicine. They've also recommended that the dispensaries be shut down. I mean, imagine you've worked all these years, you've got these dispensaries, and now they're not only creating competition for you, but they're eliminating all the pioneering work that you did to create the dispensaries. And the same for the patients who have depended on the wisdom and special experience of dispensaries that are now going to be thrown into retail. That doesn't make any sense. But get ready for the real news, folks, because the Liquor Control Board has just approved over 200 pesticides that can legally be used in the production of cannabis in the state of Washington. Can you believe that? Over 200 pesticides that have been authorized to be sprayed and used on cannabis. This is a perfect example of why we cannot trust government, why we cannot have regulations, why we cannot ever work with legislators and bureaucrats. We're better off, we have the votes, we're better off just going for full legalization and not putting up with any more of these rules and regulations. You know, in Washington, we see a situation where people have tried to negotiate a middle ground between the needs of cannabis consumers, medical marijuana patients, and the needs of police, the state, those who feel it's important to regulate all commercial products. These people have no middle ground. They have no comprehension of what this miraculous herb is about. And like Tony Serra and others, I'm now opposed to any rules and regulations regarding cannabis because it's always used against us. And as long as the laws remain on the books, it will continue to be used against us. Now, in Washington and in Colorado, we're seeing examples of overregulation in the initiatives and failure to deal effectively with removing the laws. So you have pseudo-legalization. If the books still have laws that can put you behind bars, the police and the prosecutors and the judges will use those laws. And it has to be clear, we cannot tolerate initiatives that add another layer and another layer and another layer, and page after page after page of rules and regulations that ultimately end up being used against us. Not the state, not the regulators, not the Liquor Control Board. They don't have any consequences. Of course, in Lake Tahoe, once our initiative passes, they can go to jail for up to a year for trying to defeat any liberal interpretation of our initiative to open up South Lake Tahoe to medical marijuana. And as I said, we're going to be filming this and showing you how to do this in your town or in your county. But in the meantime, let's watch what unfolds in Colorado and Washington, and let's be careful to learn from these lessons. Now, Prop 215 was one page, and it changed the world. It's gone to the Supreme Court, and it's withstood that challenge. So there's a lesson there with 215, that an initiative that deals with our rights instead of becoming like the control freaks, like the psychopaths, like the sociopaths that are in government right now, all about controlling people's lives. No, we don't want that. We want real freedom. And real freedom doesn't have a long list of rules and regulations that if you screw up, you go to jail. No, real free, you're either free to do something or you're not. And that's the kind of future that I look forward to. And again, I appreciate all the good work that people in Colorado and Washington have done. They're real pioneers, they're real heroes, but there's lessons to be learned here. And the most important lesson is that we have to get these horrible pot laws off the books and not participate or in any way make concessions to the establishment, because their time is over. We have the votes. We don't need to placate police. We don't need to pass initiatives that have all of these pro-police, pro-prohibition clauses in it. No, all we need are simple, short initiatives that take bad laws, repeal those laws, and get them permanently off of the books. This has been Steve Kubby with Kubby TV, Pot TV, CannabisCulture.com, wishing you a great 420 day.
So heavy where I stand.